Good morning, folks. Hope you're keeping well. I couldn't have had much different a day from yesterday. It's very strange. Where do I start? Oh man. Yesterday was Saturday, and I think, because I'm not sure yet, but I think that's last Saturday's video. I got home and spent some time thinking about the day. I don't think I could have done much else. I'm not being too hard on myself over it. Yes, I could have gone somewhere different. Yes, I could have thought about what I was doing differently, but the only thing I did wrong yesterday is fly my drone into a tree. Anyway, that was yesterday. Today, I have come to a different part of the ancient woodland, and I've been shooting for about an hour already. I came in, it's been raining all the way, all morning. As I've walked in, I've just downed tools, composed a few simple shots, tried to capture some of this fog, because I don't want to get through this 2 days and not have any images of it. I'm petrified of that. Anyway, because of the rain, I can't start this video with any drone footage. Obviously I need to test that, make sure it's working okay. And it was my intention to come out and get some drone footage first thing, but as it stands, it might work out in our favour because I'm here for hours today. I'm going nowhere until I'm satisfied. As the day progresses, the weather forecast says we've got rain this morning. It's going to get rid of this fog at some point, I think. I don't think it's adding to it. I think it's going to wash it away. So, assuming that passes at some point and we still have light, then I'll get the drone up first opportunity I get. Yesterday was a mess. It was a real mess, and you get those days, you know. And despite the weather being in your favour, that doesn't make for a good day's shooting, I'm afraid. It adds pressure, and yeah, I think I'd go as far as to say, for me at least, it encourages me to make silly mistakes, and in the eagerness to shoot, you forget stuff, you trip over stuff, you don't think about the things you should be thinking about. I checked my shots out when I got back last night. I got about 100 shots from yesterday, and there's one or two in there I quite like, you know. I mean, I'll have shared them in a gallery if the video goes up. I hope it does. I think I can salvage something from it, and I want to post it because I'd like to share the real experience of it rather than just distilling down the good bits. I need to post the bad bits as well. I need to do it for myself. I need to do it for other people so that anybody interested gets a true reflection of just how it is. It's just, this is the nature of the beast. But that's enough about reviewing yesterday. Let's get on with today. I need to, ooh, hello. Kind of tree are you? It's very nice. It's very understatement of the decade. No more waffle for now. I'm going to get this guy shot. I might come over here and have a play around here in a minute. As I come across any composition of any value or anything that might be a little bit interesting, I'll bring you back, explain my thinking, and I'll catch you in a little while. It's raining. Oh, sorry. Two things on the lens. Got a little composition here. It's a good example. Have you ever heard when somebody says expose for the highlights? Many years ago, I was always like, what are they talking about? Expose for the highlights. How can you? You just expose your frame and that's you done. I've got a shot here on this tree. I've got the camera in a landscape orientation, horizontal, and it just about fills 2-shot panorama vertical, 2 images, a lower one and an upper one. I'll stitch those two together in post-processing to make a full-sized image. It's very, very still. We've got quite a bit, sorry about that, a siren in the background. I've got no idea what that is. It's very odd. Anyway, sorry about that. This is the fella. How beautiful is he? Mega tree. Okay, so what I've got here is the bottom half of this chap with his leafage just about in frame, centrally composed, little bit of heather here at the base for a little touch of colour. There's some yellow, some orange, and then the green around the base of the tree, which is brambles. Beautifully banked by fog. But I'm going to shoot that, and then I'll shoot one frame above it. Now on the histogram here, let's bring up a better display of the histogram. So what the histogram line, the simple histogram, shows is on the left hand side is an indication of the darks we've got in the frame, and on the right hand side is the highlights. So they're the shadows, they're the highlights, and everything that we've got in this image, the full frame here, is in that peak. That's where it sits between the darkest darks and the lightest lights. When somebody says we're blowing out, it's usually there's a big straight line or a curve leading up to this side of the line there, showing that the highlights go to the limit of the camera and then they go beyond. Now, for this part of this composition, we're good. Everything sits nicely in the line. There's no blown out highlights and there's no too deep shadows. But then, as I bring my camera up for the second half of the composition, we get far more highlights. And what that does to the histogram, it's flattened out the content, which is where the tree is at the bottom half of this frame, but then those highlights in the sky just go boom off the chart. That's showing me that this is blown out. I won't be able to recover it in post-processing. So, how do you do it? How do you get around it? And the answer quite simply is expose for the highlight of this shot, this two-shot panorama. So what I'll do here is very simply, that's dialing me up, that's making it worse and worse and worse, worse till we completely blown out. All of the content in this frame is up in the highlights. So what I'll do is I'll go the opposite direction and I'll bring the highlights down until that indicator comes off the edge just as it did then. Yeah, that'll be okay. So we have got a peak in highlights and they are really bright, but it isn't right at the end of the scale, so it might be a little bit heavy, that might. That's probably the sensible exposure. And it's a trade-off. As I drop this camera now, we're going to go into the shadow area. If that looks too much just by a touch, then you can have either shoot it twice with 2 exposures or just up this one little exposure stop and try and have another go at it. So I'll take my shot here. I'll drop my frame, making sure I've got a good overlap in the bottom half here. Something like so. And that was me exposing for the highlights. It's a different mechanic if you're doing it in a single frame, but we'll cover that some other time. I'm not doing the training bit. There's too much good stuff on YouTube. I don't need to do that. Oh, what a lovely, lovely chap he is. Anyway, composition. I'm going to carry on walking and I'll bring you back when I get another one, assuming I get another one. I'll see you in a bit. It's about an hour since we last spoke. The fog's not lifting at all, it's here for a while. The sky's bright and yeah, it's epic, it's just epic. Right, look, this is where I'm stood, right? GoPro's junk, but this guy here, there's one behind him, ancient oak, another one here. This fella, there's actually 2 there. There's one at the back and one at the front. I know there's an ancient oak, fallen ancient oak over there. He's not ancient. He's not ancient, but he is. And the one behind him is. And it goes on and on and on. Morning. A bit of a crest here. I drop off, go down into some mixed. There's heathland, ancient oak, silver birch, and off down towards the pine forest. I'm so satisfied with what I've shot already today. I can't believe the images I've been clicking. Whether they come out or not is another matter, but it's just such a rewarding feeling to be able to capture these in some unusual light, even light. And I hope one or two come out well. Obviously, as usual, I'll compose a little gallery and pop a few of them up at the end. Anyway, I've got another composition for you. And really, it's a simple one. My thinking on this is that this tree has very few substantial trunks in front of him. Forget this fella, we'll deal with him in a minute. But around him, there, to his left and to his right, it's quite open. There's not a huge amount of distractions. I can't go too high because of the open sky, so I've got to keep my composition sort of at that height. But as I looked at it, I noticed this beautiful autumnal colour here, these bright yellow bursts of colour with the dark brown of his trunk, the misty background, some green leading up to the base of his trunk, and then in the foreground here we've got a little bit of brown autumnal fern heather. So I started to think about forming a composition on those lines, and this is what I've come up with. I'm shooting at 50mm, as most of you all know who watch any of my videos, and that's all I shoot. I shoot 50mm, and at 50 I've managed to capture the intricate depths of his canopy at the top there, where the major limbs branch off, so it's quite dense, dark top, which is nice because that means the eye is going to drop into the frame. Here on the right we've got these beautiful little pops of yellow, some lovely mist in the background. There is a little oak here with some colour on it, so I might be able to balance the frame out each side with those little pops of colour, maybe even desaturate the green a little. The browns and greens, and this nice little pop of fern at the base here just to anchor everything. So on the whole, if it works, honestly, I'm inflating what I think versus what I see. What I see is quite complicated. But because of the fog, because the colours aren't too much of the composition, I might be able to work on it in post-processing and match it to what I'm thinking, and that's the way I work. That's how I shoot. It's how I've evolved to shoot. I try to think about what I can do in post-processing sensibly. No AI, no neural filters, no bull stuff. Purely optical enhancement and traditional development filters, processes, operations. Authentic photography, please. That's enough on that subject. But that's it. That's how I roll. That's what I do, and that's how I think and how I shoot and how I edit. I do try to think about post-processing for some compositions. For other compositions, I just take the shot and I don't think twice. You just grab it, grab the data, get gone. It depends what I'm doing. I'm going to head over behind you, down that little hill into the fog, see what it looks like on the open heath, see if we can get some wider atmospheric shots. I kind of feel like I've got enough of these guys today. Not that I have, but I'm satisfied. I'm highly satisfied. Anyway, I'm mindful that I'm a couple of compositions in, a bit of waffle, a bit more waffle, so I'm probably reaching 20 minutes and I don't want to bore anybody, so I'll try and get another quick composition. I won't go into any detail, and then if I can, I'll pop some drone footage up somewhere and compose a gallery for the end, and I'll see you in a little while. I was back over here somewhere trying to get a composition on a tree. The camera was portrait orientation on its side, and I was tucked in and struggling to get composition, and I turned my head sideways at the same split second as a drop of water went straight in my ear. Freezing cold it was, didn't half send a shudder down my spine. What a tree! Has to be somewhere in the region of upwards of 500 years old, and it's just a wash of them. They're dotted around all over this place. One final composition for you here is a 4-shot portrait on its side, vertical portrait composition across that scene. I'll explain my thinking of it. Essentially it goes from light, fog and light, across through some colour to a primary subject, to a secondary subject, to a little more light. So it's quite evenly balanced composition. It's going to draw the contrast to the centre of the frame. I'll crop it I'll shoot it quite low to the base of the tree so I get as much of that perspective covered as possible. And if battery will allow, composition, I started on the right unusually, I don't know why. I just wanted to expose, come on wake up GoPro, I wanted to expose reasonably for this highlight because it was the highest highlight, the brightest highlight. Highest highlight, what the heck was that? It's the brightest highlight, so I'm overexposed by 0.7 of a stop, which I don't mind too much because it's fog. And then I shot that one. I took a note of where this limb was here, and I made sure that I didn't lose that over there. That was roughly my second shot. Trunk, roughly my third shot, roughly my fourth shot, and I took another one just to get some marginal crop area over here. I shot at f13 to get as much of that background in focus as possible. Hopefully it makes for a nice wide composition that will show well if you're watching this back on a TV 16:9. But I think what I'll do next is just try and get some of this colour, beautiful patch of yellow autumn colour next to this ancient oak, in front of an ancient oak, next to an ancient oak. What a day, what a day. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Pins and needles everywhere, it's just, ooh, fantastic, fantastic. For any photographers watching this, I wish you could be here, I really do, one at a time. I managed to get some drone footage, not the ideal conditions. I took the drone up to 400 foot because it's very calm, very still, which is the legal limit. I went straight up to 400 foot, hoping, like I did manage to do yesterday, clear the fog and get the sunrise and the horizon. But it's too dense, it's just a blanket up there. I came back down out of the clouds and had a quick whiz round these trees. I got the drone back and it was soaking wet. I shouldn't have done it because it's not waterproof. So I've really put it through its paces in this last 48 hours. I flew it into a tree yesterday and I've wet it through today. So I deserve all I get, really. I'm almost at my shooting limit now. I'm not used to having this much in the form of decent conditions. So my back's killing me, my feet are burning. I'm running out of battery power on my Sony, and I can't get the drone out again because it's just too wet. So what do you do? What do you do? Do I keep on shooting, or do I call time? I can't leave. I just can't leave. I just got to keep walking. And Stop thinking, that's what I need to do. I need to stop thinking for a while. So I'm going to finish my coffee, join a trail that's down the bottom of this hill here. Somewhere in this, there's a trail runs along there somewhere and disappears off up there. So from a very beautiful, very foggy, very beautiful Sherwood Forest Nature Reserve, I'm going to bid you farewell for this week. I'm going to thank you very much for watching, ask you to please take care of one another, and until next time, if you can't be good, just be careful. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.